Okay. So I was just mentioning I'm going to have a yoga strap today. If you don't have a strap, which many of us don't, anything that is like a flexible object of that, of like a good length would be good. And people use like a hand towel or like like a pair of leggings or something, a scarf, a tie, anything at all. We'll do a lot of shoulder stuff today. I realize we haven't really been in that place a lot. We haven't been up here because there's been this, well, I've had really tight hips, and then there's also been like a lot of unrest going on in the world. And so there's been this need for kind of some grounding and soothing work, I feel like, in our bodies and in our consciousness. And we got to get loose up here too. So we've been doing a lot of open stuff here. We'll loosen up top today. I was just, Victoria and I were just laughing that my talk today was going to be based around the idea of time. I'm gonna read this to you. I thought these were really interesting quotes on the idea of impermanence. Kafka said that reality is never and nowhere more accessible than in the immediate moment of one's own life. It can only be there that it can be won or lost. And Kierkegaard said, the moment is not properly an atom of time, but an atom of eternity. It is the first reflection of eternity in time, its first attempt, as it were, at stopping time. And Einstein and Bergson said, if our heart were large enough to love life in all its detail, we would see that every instant is at once a giver and a plunderer. But I love that first section by Kafka where she was saying that they're saying that reality is never and nowhere more accessible than in the immediate moment of one's own life. Let's come back to that all of the time, and especially when we're, existing in this place where it can become really unsettling to not know like what's going to happen next. To try to come into a point of acceptance with that is just say like, well, I don't know. And I can't know, and I can't figure it out. My friend was super excited that her kids were going to go back to school, and like 2 days later, they're back again. Like, but it's just, we don't know. But today, here, I have at least this another hour or so ahead of me where I get to be fully present in this moment. And I don't know what happens next, but if I am fully here now, then that becomes so much less my concern. That is not reality. The next step is not here yet, and I don't need to worry about it. I can simply work on this present moment. So we'll get deep into the present moment, doing some cool stuff in the upper body, hopefully some heart openings that we can move forward into the uncertainty of our existence with a little bit more lightness and a little bit more space. At least that would be the intention. So we're going to start with face up brushing. So you'll take your index finger and thumb together, and then this squishy spot at the bottom of your thumb, bring that to the center of your forehead and brush outwards towards your temples a few times. And then from the sides of your nose out to your temples along your cheekbones. From your temples down to your chin on your jawline. From the sides of your nose down to your chin along your laugh lines. Massaging underneath and behind your ears. There's the little soft spots that are down at the bottoms of your ears, and then there's little bony spots right above that. And when you lift up from that point, a little bit more space in your spine, a little bit more room. I can almost feel the breath having more room when the spine is more lifted. Keeping that lift as you rest your hands down into your lap. Just taking a few deep breaths, moving the air in and out of your nose if that's comfortable to you. It's not that there's like anything wrong about breathing in and out through your mouth, especially if you can't breathe in and out through your nose. The reason that we do so is that the nose kind of acts like a filter for the breath, and it pinpoints that action much more so than just this open mouth sort of breathing. So if we bring it in through the nostrils, which are much smaller than our mouths, we have a little bit more focus to that action. The more focused, the more pinpointed, the more present we are. Jack Kornfield says, we do not meditate to become good breathers. Meditate not to become good at breathing, but to be more present, to be more readily alert at every precious moment of our lives. Another deep breath in through your nose. This time, big exhale through your mouth. Again, like that. For 3 ohms. Once you start to open your eyes, we're going to take the legs and unwind them so we come to a place where the soles of the feet are together. If this is uncomfortable, you can just have the legs extended out in front of you. And won't be super specific about this space in the hips, but then give a couple of shifts and maybe even adjust your flesh so that it's not directly underneath you. You've got a little bit more space. You're going to take your right hand out to your right side. Reach your left arm up and over your nose instead of your ears, so it's just a little bit more forward. And then as much as you're reaching outwards through your left arm, can you release your left hip back down and then relax the back of your neck? So for many of us, the head would tilt back there, and I will be forever chasing my earbuds until I figure this out. One more breath like that. And then stay in that side bend. You're just going to take the left arm and reach it out to the left again. And go ahead and really release that right ear towards your right shoulder. Goodness. And maybe turn the palm on that left hand gently around so that you're rotating the arm and your shoulder. You can go ahead and release that arm and lift your head up, taking the hand down and then reaching your right arm up and over. So instead of being back here where it can be pinched behind the shoulder, taking the arm slightly forward, more above your nose, and then actively releasing your right hip down. Relaxing the back of your neck as well. One more breath out. Stay in the side bend. You'll reach the arm outwards towards the right again. Soften your left ear towards your left shoulder. Start moving the hands so that it faces forward and backwards, rotating the shoulder around in its socket, just starting to get it kind of looped up. And then relax that arm. Go ahead and bring your head up, and then you're just gonna draw yourself forward, heart going towards your feet, and knowing it's still very early in practice, possibly very early in your day. So just going forward, kind of allowing the space to open up. It probably won't be your deepest hold. Just take 3 more breaths, relaxing your lower back with every exhale, letting your belly soften. Starting to lift yourself up, and we're going to move into child's pose. So if you've been sitting up on anything, you can go ahead and set that to your side. Take the arms and reach them out in front of you. Knees perhaps a little bit wider than your hips, so you have more space to reach your hips back. It doesn't matter how far your hips go back. Let's see if you can snuggle them as far back as they will. And then rest your forehead down, but come up onto your fingerprints so that your wrists are lifted up. And feel the breath in the backs of your shoulders. Getting a little bit more space around those shoulders, and start to roll your elbows downwards towards the floor, even if they don't touch, even if they don't get down to the floor. And take a nice big breath in, feel your back body fill up. On your exhale, actively curl that tailbone downwards towards your toes a little bit more. Try that twice more. Inhale, fill up. Exhale, actively curl the tailbone down. One more time, breathe in. Deep breath out. And then you're gonna come up onto your hands and knees. I don't know about you, but I feel like my pelvis got like a good inch or so further away from my ribs there. A lot of low back release. So we're gonna take that low back release into a few cat and cows. So dropping the belly, looking up, breathing in, exhale, rounding in your spine. Inhale, looking up, drop the belly, exhale, pick your belly up. I am suspicious I had my earbuds on. Oh, this is not comfortable. Oh, yep, I did. All right, hopefully this will be better. So you're still hopefully going with your cat-cow, not letting my weirdness interrupt your Zen space there. And if it did, then just go back into a weird Zen space. And then curl it back into child's pose. So you're going to draw your hips back and then walk those fingertips out a little bit further. Thank you for your patience with me, by the way. I spent so long trying to figure out alternative audio options and nothing was successful. So here we are again. And take another big full breath in, and then maybe you feel the tailbone curl down to the toes a little bit more on your exhale. And we'll come back up onto hands and knees. So as you come up here, I'm going to take your right leg out to the right side. And we'll stay here for a moment, letting the tailbone, instead of curling down to your toes, fly upwards into the sky, getting a little bit more outer or inner thigh release. You're going to take the left hand, I'm going to slide it under so that you come up onto your shoulder and the side of your face. So I'm resting down here onto the floor. Use this right hand to support you. I come up onto fingerprints just because I get a little bit more room in the twist that way. If this feels terrible, this leg out, go ahead and draw it back in. It's not that important, but if you can have it out, you have just a little extra twisting going on. Finding your breath. One more exhale. Then if you came up onto the fingerprints, coming back on to your right hand, unwinding the left arm, and then coming up so that you're kind of standing up On your knee, you're gonna take this foot, you're gonna turn it up. If it was already up, it's fine. We just want it up so we have that outward rotation, slightly more balanced hips. You can see me from the side as I take this arm up. It's more in line with the nose than the ear, yeah? It's not back behind me. But I wanna reach up. Don't just fall into your leg. Reach upwards from this space. Ears out of your shoulders. Big exhale. Come on up. I'm going to take the hands down. You can turn your foot with it whichever way you prefer. I'm going to try to walk the hands out a little bit more here. Maybe if I'm feeling really open, I can come into a puppy dog pose with my upper body. So my hips are more or less above my back, above my knee, but I'm walking the hands out, letting the heart melt down to the floor. We won't stay here long. Let's just give it one more exhale. Start to crawl the hands back in, let your right leg come back in, and then send your left leg out to the left side. So you've just got it extended right out there from the hip. It's like nothing has changed. And start letting your tailbone curl upwards so that you get a little bit more of that inner thigh release. One more breath out. And then sliding your right arm down and underneath so that you're resting on the right shoulder and the right side of your face. I like to come up onto left fingerprints here so that I've got a little bit more rotational assistance in my upper body. One more exhale. And then release your left palm down, unwind your right leg and start to walk yourself back until you're standing up on this knee, and then that leg is gonna shift. You can see that shift in my hips, right? Yeah, you probably feel it in yourself. We have that leg rotated, but you know, the pelvis a little bit more even. And then taking the right arm up, more so in line with your nose than your ear, and reaching up instead of folding over. Finding space there, really stretching the skin out. One more exhale. And taking yourself up, walking those hands down. I leave my hips more or less above my back knee, and see how far I can walk the arms up. Maybe the forehead rests down, the heart rests down. Your toes could be facing up or down. It's up to you. One more breath out. Start walking the hands back in. You're going to tuck your left leg in. We're going to come down onto our backs. Bring your strap with you. We'll use it a couple times today. So once you get here, we're just going to take one big hamstring stretch here just to give ourselves a little bit more space. So take the leg out. We're going to wrap the foot around, the strap around the foot. Wrap the strap around your knuckles, and then start to extend that leg out. I'm going to think of letting the back of the knee unhinge as much as possible. And even if you're letting the leg go like really far away from you, I want you to relax your arms. So you're just using your fingers to hold and not creating tension in your shoulders, especially since that's what we're trying to release. One more exhale. And then release the strap from your foot. You're going to bend into your right knee. Go ahead and give it a little squeeze and let your left leg slide out as far away from you as it will comfortably do so. Then you're going to guide the knee across the body. So we're coming into a twist. You're going to send your right arm out lower than your shoulder. So like shoulder height and lower than the shoulder, so that we get a little bit more freedom right into this pectoral. I find if I reach the arm up too much, it's like a different stretch. Lower it down a little bit. It's like a sweet spot. you're like, I don't know if this is in the right place, try moving it a little bit. And it's like a little bit more into the meat of the pectoral rather than in the armpit. One more breath out. And come back to your back. Press that right foot down. We'll take the left leg up, loop the strap around the bottom of it, and just release that hamstring. And we're trying to release all the way into that unhinging of the knee. And it's fine if the leg's really far away from you. If you're getting the legs straight, it's going to stretch. It's simply not something that we do all of the time. And if you wanted to pull it in, if your arms were released and you had the space, you can do that, but really try to relax the fronts of those shoulders. Oh, hi. If you need any examples of how to relax your arms, just watch the dog fall on the floor. No, thank you. No, I've got yoga to do. Thank you. One more exhale. And release the strap from your foot. We're going to tuck the left leg in, let your right leg slide out. And then moving into the twist. So I like to rest my foot on my leg. You may feel differently about that positioning. You're going to take that left arm out just slightly lower than your shoulder. I don't know if you can see, but there's like a, you can see it maybe a little bit more on this side, that my arm is lower. And it's that like, you kind of got to feel both to know what I'm talking about, like the armpit stretch, and then there's like the meat of the pectoral stretch. They're a little different. Hi. Jezebel got a fancy new dress. One more exhale. And then I'll come back to your back and then go ahead and set the soles of both feet down on the floor. I've got knees bent. No, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you, though. You're going to take your right foot and you're going to tuck it in between your left foot and your hip. Now, for many of us, rolling over to this right hip is going to help a lot to keep that bottom knee down, but I do want it to stay down. If you can scooch it closer towards your left foot, great. If you can hold onto your right foot with your left hand, great. If you can release both sides of your pelvis down more towards the floor, great. Let's take the right arm and bring it back behind your head. So maybe your head's resting on your forearm or on your hand. And then scooch your right elbow over towards the left of it. So we've got a little bit of human pretzeling and knot tying going on. But once we get there, I want you to relax the inside of your armpit so that outside gets a little bit more space. One more breath out. And then release your head from your arm, unwind your right leg from being tucked underneath you, and then find yourself back in this neutral spacing. I'll take the left leg and tuck it in between the foot and the knee there. If you can grab it, great. If you can bring it closer towards your foot, great. And take your left arm and bring it back behind your head and maybe scooch your left elbow more over towards the right, and then actively continue to release that inside of your armpit. One more breath. And then release your left arm, release your left leg, find center, let your knees knock against each other for a moment, and just take 2 deep breaths. Nice long breaths, noticing how the air feels, how your body feels. And then rolling over onto your belly. I'm gonna come into a little Shalabhasana action, locust pose. Wiggle the legs back. And take your arms back. If you wanted to hold the strap behind your back, you could do that. If you want to hold hands behind your back, you can do that as well. You've got always the freedom to choose. I'm going to take the knuckles back towards the feet, feeling the chest open. Take another inhale and then relax your jaw as you exhale. Notice if anything changes. And then you're going to roll your inner thighs towards the sky and let your feet float up off of the floor. One more inhale. And then exhale, lower down. One more time like that. Coming up, lifting the chest, sending the knuckles back, relaxing your jaw muscles in your throat, and then rolling inner thighs to the sky, lifting the feet up. Maybe you get up a little bit higher this time. And then lower it on down. Hands underneath your shoulders. We're going to lift the belly up away from the floor, even though it's totally still touching. And then you're going to push down so strong that you lift yourself all the way up. And then come to a seat. We're going to grab the strap. We're going to do a couple of things with it. I'm going to sit some way that is rather comfortable to you. So for me, crisscross applesauce, totally good. You can have your legs out in front of you. You can decide to go sit on your couch for a moment as long as you've got, well, maybe not the couch, but you want to have some space behind you. We're going to take out a strap and you're going to bring it out a little wider than your shoulders. And you might go wider as we go, and that's fine, but it's harder to get closer. Anyway, so start wider than your shoulders. Take the strap up. And then you're going to hold on, but try to see how little you can separate the hands from each other in order to get your hands back behind you. And I separated a lot. Just tried to be conservative with my opening of hands as I went. I just did that a few times, some shoulder flossing. And you can have bent elbows. There's a micro bend in my elbows for sure. Next time you take it up, I want you to pause back behind your head and then relax your inner shoulders, your inner armpits, the fronts of your shoulders, like this space right here, right? And then take it back up again and then go back again. And when you get to that point of tension, can you soften those inner armpit, front of shoulder spaces? One more time. Take it up. Let it go back as you exhale. Soften that front of shoulder space. And then release those arms all the way back. I'm going to take the arms back up. I'm going to take your feet now and separate them so that you've got this kind of like wide, like upside, like M shape. I always want to say upside down W, which is an M, I guess. I'm going to take my elbows on the insides here, push into my palms and feel my heart lifting up towards the thumbs. Ears out of your shoulders. Another weird little nuance thing is if you want to think of your kidneys releasing downwards, your lower back widening, that can feel nice. And then release your elbows from the insides of your legs. We're going to use the strap. Now you might have like really long orangutan arms and you decide that you don't want to use the strap. I say orangutan arms because that's how I describe my arms. But I'm going to show with the strap, and if you have the space in your body to do it without the strap, you are more than welcome to do so. So I'm going to show you from behind because that's where all of the magic is happening. I'm going to take the strap over my right shoulder, and then I'm sure that I've got plenty of it hanging down here and then looping over slightly towards the left. I'm going to come down on the inside of my leg here, and I'm going to take my hand behind me, my palm faces up, right? Palm is up. Somewhere back there is the strap. I'm going to grab onto that. I'm going to creep up as far up towards my waist as possible. And then my other hand is going to go palm facing back, bend into my elbow, and hold it. So a key thing here is that my palms are open back behind me. That really does a lot to help to protect them. Shoulder joint stuff here. So try to keep the palms open in these grasps as much as possible. Notice my hands are really close to each other. Yours don't have to be. but I'm gonna pull the strap, even if there's just a tiny bit of it, or even if my hands are holding and they're pulling. Did you see what that did to my shoulder? Did you just feel what it did to your shoulder? You pull apart and then spiral your chest open, and then maybe you look up over your right shoulder, and then if your right shoulder is trying to creep up into your face, you know, that's okay, right shoulder, you can soften open. Maybe thinking of softening your jaw muscles here, your throat. And that really does a lot to help the heart have more space, I find. One more exhale. And relax that top shoulder, release and unwind, and then you're gonna switch it however you switch it. So I've got this strap tail going outwards to the right, and then I've got it up and over my left shoulder. So I'm gonna slide the right hand down. I wanna take it palm facing up to hold on to the strap, and then get up the strap as much toward my waist as possible. This hand palm faces back, and I reach and I hold open palm on the strap. You know, wherever, maybe I hold hands, my hands are still open palmed, and then I'm gonna pull my hands or my strap to send the chest up, lifting, maybe looking out towards that way, feeling your collarbones broaden, your ears reach out of your shoulders. One more exhale. And relax the shoulders, come out of this shape. We're gonna go ahead and take that strap and scooch it off to your side. We're gonna bring the soles of the feet together again, and then bring the heart downwards towards your feet, just noticing if this feels different than when you first came into the pose earlier in practice. Once again, an opportunity in this moment to explore the space that exists right now, because it is not the same space that it was earlier. It's not the same space it will be a couple days from now. Let that lower back space release. One more breath out. And then coming on up, I'm going to back to hands and knees for just a moment. So I'll come up here and take your right foot out, right foot outside of right hand. I was like, is that the body part I'm thinking of? Yes, that's a foot. And then you're going to turn your knee and your toe out to the side. So my leg is rotated out. My left hand is going to come even further forward. My hips are going to come even further forward. And I'm not going to fall down to the shoulder. I'm going to push down strong in that arm so that my big wide open chest can reach back and up in this twist. Maybe my hand is reaching back to my foot. Maybe my foot wants to be summoned up into my hand. If your hips are going forward, you're getting a really nice thigh stretch, and you do not need to grab that foot. There's no necessity to foot grabbing. There's only joy in foot grabbing, and you must only go into it if you have joy. That's my theory, at least. Take an inhale. Soften your throat. Let that chest open up more. Oh my goodness. And then gently release that back foot if you had it. We're going to bring the hands down and then draw that right leg back, and then same thing other side. So the left foot comes up, so close. And then turn the knee and the toe out to the side. Right hand further forward, hips go forward, pushing strong into that bottom arm, and then reaching from the heart up and back through that back arm. If the back foot would like to be grabbed, it can be grabbed, finding joy and not pain or frustration in any of these spaces, because life is weird. Life is weird, yoga's weird. At least have fun in your weird yoga. Softening your throat, long spine. One more big breath in. Soften something as you exhale. Gently releasing that back foot. Coming back onto your hands and knees. Take one hand, shake it out a few times. The other hand, shake it out a few times. Spread out your fingers, push strong from your heart all the way down into your hands, and then curl your toes and lift back up into downward facing dog. We'll stay here for a little bit. See if you can do 5 breaths. So you're relaxing your heels. You can wiggle if you want to. You're taking nice long inhales and exhales, not rushing the experience, but finding strength. Increasing bone density with the weight bearing in the arms. Strong armpits down to those hands. Soften your heels, feel your tailbone float up. Suddenly 5 breaths doesn't seem like that much time. One more exhale, unless you think I'm wrong and you breathe differently. And then bring your feet to your hands and your hands to your feet. You're going to keep the knees really bent here. I want you to be able to bring your belly as close to your thighs as possible so that you're really releasing this lower back fold. And if it feels good, you can grab onto your elbows and maybe give yourself a little swaying action, a little ragdoll, relaxing your neck as well. You would think for as often as I say to relax your ears and your neck that I would have a relaxed ears and neck, but the reason I say it so often is because I feel it in my body too. The arms still human. Leave your knees bent, release your arms. You can walk your hands up your body or just go ahead and roll yourself up nice and leisurely. And once you are leisurely rolled up, as so, we're going to stand on the left leg up towards the front of your space. Take your right leg, cross it over, squeeze your thighs together and sit your hips back. I'm going to keep squeezing your thighs together. If you wanted to lift your right foot up, you could. We're going to take left elbow over and then bring the palms together. If your palms don't come together and you want to do this thing, I find this to be very helpful. So it's up to you, palms together or not palms together. Then draw your elbows down and forward and lift your heart up like you're going to bring it right up in between your upper arm bones. One more exhale. Unwind, set both feet down, release your arms, take them up. Feel the weight moving forward towards your toes, almost like your heels are going to rise up off of the ground. And then your heart's going to lift right up into your hands. Little baby back bend. One more inhale. And then come back to neutral as you exhale. I'll take the left leg and cross it over this time. So now I'm standing on my right leg. My left toes may or may not be off the ground, but my hips are back behind me. My thighs are squeezed tightly together. And then it's the opposite arm that goes on top. So it'll be right arm this time. And you can have the separate elbows or palms together, but reach those elbows down and forward and lift your heart right up into your arm bones. A few more breaths. Maybe your hips release behind you a little bit more. Unwind your legs, your arms. Feet are planted about hip width apart. My whole thing is, you would think, hips lifting up, heart lifting up, fingertips reaching skyward. The whole front of the body is stretching out longer. Big breath in. And then softening back, coming back to neutral, hands at your heart. If it feels comfortable to you, close your eyes. Taking this moment to observe, taking these pauses to practice our presence, to notice what's going on in the body, checking in with the breath. Where do you feel strong? Where do you feel tense? Start to open your eyes. I'm going to take the left leg back, finding warrior one on the right side. So the back toes are turned in slightly, front leg and knees and toe all face directly forward. Reach the arms up. Of course, since we're doing shoulder stuff, we're going to do one of my favorite things these days, is just to take the left hand behind your head and then hold on to it. I'll show you. So you're going to take this and go up and over. And I'm not just trying to fold myself over, I'm trying to go up. Yeah. And then for added bonus, if you wanted to take your hands together, if you have fancy cow face or in business, you could do that. And then see if you can rest your head back in your hand or in your arm so that you've got a little bit more chest lifting. Big breath in. And then relax that. Go ahead and straighten your leg for a moment. Release your arms.
and take them back behind you. You could grab your strap, you could put your hands on your hips, or you could interlace your hands behind your back. Let's take the chest open. And you're gonna pull that right hip back, bend into the knee, keep the hip pulled back, and then come forward on the inside of that leg. Push down strong in this front leg. It's really gonna help to keep that right hip pulled in and not like gliding off to the side here. And then notice what it feels like around the tops of your shoulders and your neck. See if you can relax something and find a little bit more space. Big breath out. Release your arms, come back on warrior one. Feel this lift in your chest. And then hands to your heart. Maybe it's one step to come back up to standing. Once we reorient ourselves in space, it changes the experience, right? The moment of having my arms back here is not the same as my moment here, right? Once I have changed that space, I need to reapply myself to those shapes again. So we'll start off warrior one. On the other side, so we've got left leg bent, my right toes are turned in slightly. Let's take the arms up and bend into the right arm. You can hold onto your elbow, or you can tuck the arms up back behind you, and maybe you fake cow face pose, or maybe you don't. All kinds of weird things. Where am I doing? Okay, up in the right elbow, softening the inner right armpit. Maybe you let your head rest back there. If it feels good. If it doesn't feel good, you leave that part out. One more exhale. Releasing that, releasing your arms. Straighten your front leg for a moment. Take your arms into whatever position you're going to bring them into. And I notice it a lot when my legs are straight, how easy it is to let these hips fly open. So you're gonna actively pull that hip back. And then keep it pulled back as you bend into the front knee. Reach the chest forward, the arms back, push down strong into that front foot, and come down. And once you get down, the moment has changed. And you re-release in the front of that heart. One more exhale. Release your arms. Come on up, reach the arms up, warrior one, just to take a breath in. And then hands to your heart, stepping forward, coming to standing. Take just this moment to observe how this standing pose is a different moment, a different sensation, and a different experience than the other. Open your eyes. We're going to go ahead and grab our straps. I'm going to show from behind because we're going to, I just realized I'm wearing black. I'm always wearing black. Everything is black and then we can't see. I'm going to come a little closer to you so hopefully you can see a little bit better and I don't disappear there in the background. But you know the legs in warrior too. Right? We got that. We're all seasoned-ish yogis. So we're gonna come, I'm gonna show from the back. So you got your right leg out, your left toes in. Just open the arms, find warrior two. And set it up, so you've got those arms even. Make sure my arm didn't start doing something strange back there. And I'm gonna pull this right thigh bone back a little bit. So a little shift, like be there, just a little bit back, yeah. And then keep that as you come up into peaceful warrior. So my left arm just drops down, my heart reaches up towards my right hand. Big breath in. And then come on down. I'm going to take the strap, I'm going to take it off of my right shoulder so that I can come down onto my right elbow. I'm going to take this left hand and reach it up and over to start off with. So I got all that nice luscious space on my left side. Push down strong into your left foot. Am I still on camera? Yes, I am. Okay. All right, so from here, you're gonna take this hand behind your back, Mr. Lake. Palm faces open, like in that little squat thing. You might have to just do weird things like I've done there. Now, I have two ends of the strap, right? The one that I want to go for is the one that I am already holding in my hand, but I'm wiggling around right now. The one that's in front of my body, I'm going to pretend that it doesn't exist. I'm going to look underneath, find this with my eyeballs, find it with my hand, realign my legs back in that warrior two space where my thigh bone's pulling back, and maybe my hands get close together. Maybe your hands touch. They don't need to touch. That's an option. You've got a thing to hold on to here, and you're either going to pull your hands or your strap apart, and then your chest rolls up and open, and ta-da! Try to release your left shoulder from your face. One more exhale. Release it and start to come on up and drop the thing on the floor. How do we do, team? I wasn't facing you, but good. Okay. Let's do the other side. I'm gonna, so I won't be mirroring you this time because I'm gonna do the other side too. So just start with it around my shoulders so I can go like so. Check out warrior two. Where's my body? What am I doing with it? What's up with this crazy meat suit that I occupy? And then pulling this thigh bone in gently, lifting the heart upwards. One more big breath in, lots of space there. I'm gonna take this, slide it off my shoulder as I come down, and then extended side angle. And I'm gonna push into that back foot, so you got all that extra space on that side. And there's a little bit of like finagling. I may have to come up a little bit, and I find that back strap, my palm is open. I'm gonna find not the front strap, the back strap, and come underneath. So I bring hands close together, they might touch. You're gonna pull the strap or your hands apart, and just rolling open. You gotta make sure you're not trying to do it here. Notice how my hips are back behind me. I'm really tucking that thigh bone in. I have a scarf. Maybe you actually do have a scarf, and it's just like wavering. One more exhale. Yes, release it. Come on out. I love that. You like that action of like that bit of tension from where the growth happens. It's like, symbolic or something. Yeah. That point of tension and grief from which we grow. Thank goodness. I gotta get something out of it, right? Okay. So coming back, I'm just gonna take your strap off to the side. We're gonna go wide legs, and we're gonna go into a forward fold. Now I want you to make it just as beautiful and yummy as you want to do it. So you can do it with straight hands. You can put some blocks on in front of you. I've got my toes turned slightly, and we're trying to release that outer thigh space. You can do whatever you like here. Maybe you sway around, hold your legs, walk the hands back behind you, walk them out in front of you. Your choice. I often make this the yogi's choice because it really can just be so luscious if we find that sweet spot. Do try to reach your pinky toe edges of your feet down towards the floor so that you get a little bit more of that outer leg line release. One more exhale. And then you're going to take yourself up into your hands here if you have them anywhere else. Just go right underneath your shoulders. And then you're going to heel toe your feet closer together. And then once your feet are together, you're going to take your left leg and cross it back behind your right leg. See if you can get your legs kind of sort of something like straight, but it's fine if they're bent. And if this is a lot, then just rest in your pinky toes. If it's maybe something you can get a little bit more stretch and push into your big toes, and you get this nice stretch to the outside of your back leg. And if you want a little bit more spice, then you kind of walk your hands over towards that right side and let out a nice sweet exhale. Come back to the center, switch the cross of your legs. That's pinky toe edges for more relaxed space, big toe edges for more spicy space, and then for extra heat, it's the hands going over towards the left. You always choose your own adventure, even if I don't say you can do any of these things. You can always do any of the things. You can make up your own things. Do a breath thing. Do a pet the dog or the cat thing. unwind the legs. Just have your feet down there nice and easy under your hips. Bend your knees a bit, roll it up. And then we're going to move from here down onto our hands and knees. I start off sitting on a little cushion. You may do the same. So you might want to have something nearby, a little cushion or something, or you might find it useful. We're going to do cow face pose. I'm going to come down with my hands and knees, and I've also got my strap nearby should I choose to utilize it. And you may decide that you don't want to do the arms part of this because the legs can feel a lot. So my preferred way to get over into cow face pose is to put both my knees over towards the right side and then cross my right leg back behind and then separate my feet. And then I want to try to come back where my hips are down, something like this. So mostly keeps my knees pretty stacked. Start it with the knees stacked and then come back. You might wrap yourself up differently. The downside of coming back that way, you see how I just sat on my foot? I have to wiggle it out. I brought this with me. If I sit up on it, a little easier. So here we are on the pinky toe edges of the feet. If you can separate your feet a little bit more, it gets a little bit deeper into the stretch. For most of us, feet in nice and close is plenty deep into the stretch. Now, you may decide to stay here because this is perfectly adequate to confuse and stimulate your body and force you to come into the present moment. I find that a little work in the arms helps me to pay less attention to my hips so that I can soften there. So we're doing some of this arm work. So I've got this strap, I'm gonna hold it in. So if I don't think I'm mirroring you right now. Whatever your top leg is, your opposite arm is reaching up. And then I'm gonna turn this down so my palm faces towards my head and it's down back behind my neck. I'm gonna hold on to the strap there. And then I'm gonna wave that end of the strap around so that I can take it with the palm facing back to hold on to the strap back. And now you might be able to bring your hands together. Maybe you don't, maybe you grab your shirt, maybe you just got that strap. And you're gonna pull the strap apart. Your elbows get more open, your chest lifts, maybe you've got some room to let your head settle back instead of dropping your chin forward. And relax your hip sockets. Relax the thigh bones inside of the hip sockets. Oh yeah, let it go. One more exhale. Yes. Stop. To roll the shoulders out a little bit after that, because even if I've been doing a lot of shoulder work, that cow face space can be kind of tight, particularly on that bottom arm. So we're gonna unwind the legs, wrap them up the other way. I like to come in from the front, pressing that knee behind, separate feet, and come back in. Oh, gotta get off of that foot. Ooh. It's like my hips are tight. It's like I said earlier, it's true. So you could be here, you're just kind of hang out, you're like, oh, look at that fancy weird thing they're doing with their arms. I don't want to do that. That's fine. You do want to do the things with your arms. Hold the strap opposite of the top leg, bend into your elbow, reach back, hold onto the strap. You're just going to pull it apart or pull your hands apart. Soften the inner armpits, let the head come back slightly so that you're not falling forward. Release at the hips. Big breath in. Soften on your exhale. One more breath. Then release the strap. Go ahead and set it forward. Unwind your legs. Take your hands back behind you, so then lean back gently, just let those knees roll side to side. And then if you've been sitting up on anything, go ahead and move it. You can have it handy for some of this next step. I'll mirror you. Take your left shin forward and your right shin to your side. Notice my foot is not up at my hip. I've got this like square kind of ish position.
And then I'm going to take myself and walk it back. I'm going to try to leave that right knee down on the ground. You might come down to a forearm or both forearms. Maybe you come all the way down. Maybe you don't lay down on your pillow. Notice my knee stays down. It's fine for the hip to lift up, but leave that knee down in contact with the earth. If it's in contact with the earth, you have a little bit less wiggle room to cause it duress. Duress. Stress, grief, knee stuff. One more breath out. And then take your right hand across. You're going to do a little doggy paddle with yourself up. And then we're going to go into pigeon pose. So instead of having the shin out in front of me, I'm going to tuck that foot in a little bit more. And then that leg goes all the way back. And I'm going to come up so that I'm up on both hips and not like down on the one hip. I've got both hips up. And you can pad yourself up in the middle there. Oh my goodness, my hips feel open after that. Cow face pose. I'm not sitting on my right foot though, or on the front foot, whatever your front foot is. You're not sitting on it. It's just in front of your pelvis. Rest down here. Taking some deep breaths. 3 more breaths. Try to pick yourself up and just sit over on the front hip and swing the legs around so that we come back into deer pose on the other side. So I've got that pinwheel sort of shape. The other shin is in front. I've got the sit. I'm not that close to that foot. And then coming down, maybe one forearm, maybe both forearms, maybe down on the mat. And it's fine if that hip is lifted, but try to keep that knee down. Adjusting your shape to make sure that you're choosing an alignment that is kind to your beautiful meat suit. Nice deep breathing, soaking in that quad stretch. More exhale. And taking that back arm, draw it across, walk yourself up. And then you're going to take that leg. I'm going to tuck this shin in a little bit, this foot in a little bit, and then swing the leg back and come up so that I'm on my shin, up on both hips, and then softening forward. Shouldn't feel like I'm sitting over to one side or the other. It's right up there, fairly balanced in between. Slide that pillow or something underneath your hip if that's going to be a good support for you, not letting the ego get in the way of your decision making. Just rest. Be there. Breathe in here. Finding a softening in the breath and the body. A softening in your ego too, perhaps. Few more breaths. Start to pick yourself up. I'm going to swing the legs out in front. Keep your hands back behind you. So I've got my feet out and my hands mostly facing in towards my hips. Push into my hands. I feel my chest stretching up. Really letting the heart rise up and pushing the rib cage out. One more inhale. Exhale, soften. We're gonna roll over onto our bellies. When we're gonna do bow pose, and if you wanna use a strap, you can use a strap. What you do is just kind of like reach it around your ankles. I like to hold on and hog tie myself over here, and then you would hold on to the strap going into this. So I'm not gonna do that because I find the strap to be very confusing. Clearly, I'm tying myself in, that's the darn thing. We're gonna come down into our space. I like to wiggle the legs back a little bit more so there's some more room underneath the hips. You're gonna bend into the knees, reach back, catch your feet. Knees are a little bit apart, but not like way out there, right? Like just out of the hip socket, so a little bit of separation. You wanna feel your inner thigh muscles rolling towards the sky. That's gonna help to keep your knees from spiraling outwards. So we're gonna push the feet into the hands to rise the chest, and then the thighs foot up off the mat. Pushing the feet back, chest up. Notice how this feels. Soften your jaw. Notice how it changes. Soften down. Slightly different entrance. I find this one to give it a little bit more oomph. So after our first round, we give it a little oomph. You're gonna lift your pelvis up. See? I was down here. Now I'm up here. So little raise of your hips up towards your heels. And then you push the hips back down into the floor. Take it up maybe a little bit further. One more inhale. Exhale, down. So instead of trying to get your head back up to your feet and trying to create the biggest back bend possible, can you create the most open heart possible? Let's try it one more time. A little bump of the hips up. And then emerging out into the shape. Softening the jaw, big breath in. And then release. Gently release those feet. Rock your heels side to side. And then settling, releasing those legs back if you haven't already. Just let yourself breathe into the back body. And the breath move in the backs of your ribs a little bit differently, even when you're face up. And we'll move to being face up. Just roll yourself over. Just bend into the knees, let them knock against each other, let your body soften down into the floor. Relaxing the muscles in your back that you were just using to bring yourself up into bow pose to widely open the chest. After those muscles are softer, we'll a little bit more space, bringing the knees into the chest, giving yourself a hug. Feel free to rock yourself around a bit to massage that space. Open your arms up to a T, let your knees roll over to one side and then soften the opposite shoulder. She keeps throwing herself into my hand. It's very cute. I don't care that you gave me rubs a minute ago. At this moment, I want rubs. I want rubs this moment. One more exhale. Moving the knees over towards the other side, you're going to get that little adjustment in your shoulder to soften the opposite.
Relaxing your belly with every breath out. One breath out. Come back to the center. Set the feet down. Let the knees knock against each other. Bringing your arms down by your sides with the palms face up in this gesture of being open to receive. Be snuggling the shoulders underneath the heart so that you have a little bit more open space in that chest, a little bit more open room to receive. Whatever it is, it's coming. If we can move into it with presence and an open heart, then perhaps we're better equipped. You're welcome to rest with bent knees or extend your legs out or belly flop. Or maybe take a seated meditation. Whatever pose you decide to rest in, enjoy these next several minutes of softness before we wrap up together.
Back to this moment, and just some deeper breaths. Turning yourself over to one side, taking a moment to curl up and draw inwards in a moment of gratitude for coming to your mat today, for exploring this practice together. When you're ready, coming up to find your own version of a comfortable seat. Whatever that looks like, however that works in your body. Reality is never and nowhere more accessible than in the immediate moment of one's own life. It is only there that it can be won or lost. With hands gathered at our hearts, release one last Om, moving into this beautiful reality of our present moment. Inhale. Coming down to the love, the light, and the darkness that resides within each of our hearts. Namaste. Everybody. Hi CJ, welcome. Have good days. Let me know if you have questions.
Thanks,
CJ,
April.
where are you from? Thanks, Rach. Thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Victoria and Marco. Hey. Hi, CJ. Are you still there? Oh, hi. There you go. Where are you from, CJ? I'm just curious if this is your first time joining us. Oh, cool. So we found on the like Facebook and Instagram and stuff. Awesome. Sweet. Well, thanks for being here. Let me know if you have any questions, if you need anything. I think I'm all good. Thanks for joining. Hope to see you again soon. Oh, we don't have practice next week, but moving forward, I'm here every Sunday. So yeah. I don't exactly at this point. I probably will start doing them again. It's just like the COVID situation is still kind of weird, but I do like them. So you should definitely get in contact with me through whatever media it was that you found me in. Probably Insta. I don't do anything on Facebook anymore, but yeah. Okay. Awesome. I'm losing my things. All right. Have a great day. Enjoy your Sunday.